Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And Can I hear that? Pa pa pa. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Are we there? Hello again. Always good to see your excitement. Look at this. I got it set up. Now it's closer to my face. I don't know if the noise is coming through clearly or not, but now I don't have to move it, or I can move it to where I need it. Still trying to figure out exactly how it goes, but I should be able to do it more stably now, hopefully, in terms of the volume I speak in, because I don't have to crouch to speak towards this. Anyway, nothing new on the types of books we're going to be going over. We have Arabian Nights, we have John Keats, and we have A House on the Borderland if we decide to go with a scary mode. That's not really terribly horror-based tale, but it is supposed to be chilling, unnerving, that kind of genre. Something else. What was the other thing? Might have to dip for a moment in case I hear something at the door. Roommate's currently out at home, and if I need to let him in, then I'll need to step away from here. But they should have thrown keys, but I didn't check, so we'll see about that. Other than that, I was looking at Twitch categories, and I was looking at the just chatting one, and I looked down the list as far as it could go, and I'm just in awe of how anybody found me when they did. So it's impressive that you're here and that you keep showing up. I appreciate it. But anyway, enough stalling. We'll get into the Arabian Nights. Because my desk is set. Oh, another book I found out that we were able to read is Song Celestial, the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest epic of the Indian subcontinent. Basically, the Odyssey, but for India. The story doesn't go over nearly the same concepts. It's about Krishna in a chariot talking to a man who's about to go to war and giving him all kinds of advice. It's I can't use interesting for every book, but we're only going to be reading interesting stories because otherwise I wouldn't be reading them. So it's interesting. You have knowledge. Oh, you have zero knowledge of Indian. Yeah, it's got a depth to it. The Eastern canon isn't as well defined because they weren't as dead set on writing everything down as the Western world was in those periods. But the Eastern literature is rich and voluminous. It's just not repetitive, but it has its own concepts as well. The Vedas. I really want to read the Vedas because it's the oldest existing religious literature. Back before, it was passed down orally for generations before it ever got written down, so it has to be just a wealth of knowledge, and it's such a shame that you can't read it unless it's translated, because part of the beauty of those old stories is in that famous phrase, the I am become death phrase? I don't, what phrase are you? Ah, yes. That's Krishna. But that really gives him a bad rap, I think. Since you're responding, I take it that the volume is good for this. Perhaps the ambience is doing okay as well. But Krishna is the god of, he's the supreme being in Indian folklore. He's not the creator or the destroyer or the sustainer. That's those go to Shiva, Brahman, and who's the Vishnu? Honestly, Hindu mythology is very convoluted, and I have not nearly enough grasp on it, so we'll have to delve into that in more detail when we do. For now, though, we are exploring the Arabian subcontinent. Or the Arabian. Is it its own plate? I don't know. I don't know. I really should know these things, but I don't. Let's try moving to the side a bit here. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, pop. Volume good? Volume good? Oh, you know what? I wasn't listening for if it's in my own ear or not. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, so now it's not in my ear, but now I can hear it. Can I hear myself? Pop, 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 pop. Hello? Hello? I don't hear it in my own ear, but my headphones also stopped working for a moment. I dropped them and they stopped working completely for a moment, and then I was upset because I didn't know how to fix them, so I dropped them again, and then they started working. So maybe they cut out. Bah, boom, ba, 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 ba. I don't know. I have no idea. So I see that the microphone is working on the Twitch studio, but other than that, I'm not sure. Well, enough stalling. We will get comfortable, have the book up. This time, haha, the double drop worked. Yes, it did. I was very happy when it actually fixed the problem, if you consider. That's what I'm forgetting. 1 second. It's the light in the back. That's the one thing I forgot to do. Final piece of ambience I was missing. It's the Christmas lights in the background. The room color. Yes, okay. Now we're ready to read. The environment has been set. We are set for victory now. Let me see how far this can go. I want to make sure that my voice is being carried into the recording, because when I listen back, sometimes I sound very quiet. Eventually, I'm sure we'll figure out the proper volume to speak at. We have a pop filter and a cover on the microphone itself now. So the P's and what's the other hard letter? The F? No, K? I don't know the other hard letter, but it's mainly the P. It should be easier to pronounce without actually causing problems with that. But we've gone on 14 minutes without actually reading, so I think I've stalled enough. And we shall jump back into the Arabian Nights. We stopped at the history of 3 calendars, sons of kings, and 5 ladies of Baghdad. We clarified the issues last reading that we encountered regarding the confusion about the 3rd story. In my edition, the 3rd story is completely omitted. But then I went to look at another edition, and it turns out the story is just extremely short. He doesn't go into great detail about why his tale is as grand as the other two's are. His wife was turned into a donkey, and that's really all he delved into. Then we covered what happened to the fisherman and the genie, the second encounter of the genie, and how he not only tricked the genie but convinced the genie not to kill him and actually to give him a reward. Then we delved into how that reward affected another clan of people. All that story has ended, and now we're on to another story, separate. So we are back out of the loop of going into stories, and now it is Sherazad speaking to Shahryar. I don't know what night we're on. It doesn't keep track for us, but it is the 3rd exit of Tales, the storytelling rabbit hole, as it were. I hear a muffled rumbling. I think that just comes from continuously touching the desk. I have to rest on something. I don't know what to do. read like this? Does that look good enough? That's a problem, I think. That the ruffling of the what's my setting? It's on the direction, so we'll read and then we'll look back at it and see. No, you know what? I'm gonna do the dumb way and listen to the actual voice. You know what? I'm gonna do the dumb way. Listen to the actual voice. You know what? I'm gonna do the. Okay, so my microphones aren't working at all. I cannot hear anything. That's unfortunate. Let me see if I can fix that. Sorry for the continued stall. I'm not incredible with my technology, and it turns out I break them frequently. As disappointing as it is. Okay, so I hear the campfire, I hear the music when I type it in there, but how come I don't hear this in there, but how come I don't hear this in there, but how come I don't hear this in there, but how come I don't hear this 1 2 3 how come I don't hear this in there, but how come 1 2 3 1 2 3 how come I don't hear this. Okay, so is this the distance I need to be for speaking correctly? At a volume I consider decent? Or do I need to pull it closer? Let's see what I can do here. Pull this over here. And then we'll try one more time. 1 2 3 1 2 3 we'll try one more time. 1 2 3 1 2 3 we'll try one more time. 1 2 3 1 2 3 try one more time. Okay, that's good, but I don't want to be crouched like this. I don't want to be a hunchback at the time, so I need to make this higher, but I also need to move it to the side. Yeah. Okay, I want to read at this height. Maybe I should move this bar to this side. It reaches quite far. One. Yeah, that should work. So I take it that. Oh, okay, I can hear myself now. Finally, goodness me. Oh, but now I can't see the book. An endless series of problems with the new setup. Some kind of quality here, but it's just repeated instances of not knowing how to do this setup. If I read this way, the book is kind of big, but yeah, I want it to be this is too much of the camera. This isn't what I want. Where did I put my there it is. Oh man. I just have to get used to being hunched. I don't want to be hunched. I guess the other option is lowering the camera, but then I have to do a whole other list of things I'd rather not. Perhaps we were better without this mic stand, huh? I know it'll help in the long run. I just need to figure out having something this close to my face when I'm talking. I can hide behind it, but that's not exactly what I want to do. What did I want to do? Did I just want to lean back in the chair? Like this and speak up, but I don't want to talk that loud. The whole point was to talk quiet and calmly. Perhaps here. Is this a good volume? Is this a listenable audible volume, you think? Let me check one more time on the sound it comes out. Let me check one more time on right, I need to do the headphone thing. I don't want to. We will leave it as is. Alright, from the top, the history of the 3 calendars, sons of kings, and 5 ladies of Baghdad. During the reign of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, there lived at Baghdad a porter who, notwithstanding that his profession was mean and laborious, was nevertheless a man of wit and humor. One morning, as he was standing with a large basket before him in a place where he usually waited for employment, a young lady of fine figure, with her face hidden by a large muslin veil, came up to him and said with a pleasing air, "Porter, take up your basket and follow me." The porter, delighted to hear these words pronounced in so agreeable a manner, put his pannier on his head and went after the lady, saying, "Oh, happy day, oh, happy meeting." The lady stopped at a closed door and knocked. A venerable Christian with a long white beard opened it, and she put some money into his hands without saying a single word. But the Christian, who knew that what she wanted, went in, and very soon brought out a large jar of excellent wine. "Take this jar," said the lady to the porter, "and put it in the basket." When this was done, she desired him to follow her and walked on, the porter still exclaiming, "O day of happiness, O day of agreeable surprise and joy." The lady stopped at the shop of a seller of fruits and flowers, where she chose various sorts of apples, apricots, peaches, lemons, citrons, oranges, myrtles, sweet basil, lilies, jessamine, and many other sweet-scented flowers and plants. She told the porter to put all those things in his basket and follow her. Passing by a butcher's shop, she ordered 25 pounds weight of his finest meat to be weighed, and this likewise was put into the porter's basket. At another shop, she bought some capers, tarragon, small cucumbers, parsley, and other herbs, pickled in vinegar. At another, some pistachios, walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds, kernels of the pine, and similar fruits. Elsewhere, she purchased all sorts of almond patties. The porter, as he put all these things into his basket, which began to fill it, said, "My good lady, you should have told me that you intended making so many purchases, and I would have provided a horse, or rather a camel, to carry them. I shall have more than I can lift if you add much to what is already here." The lady laughed at this speech, and again desired him to follow her. Can't read like this, it's in the way. Oof. I bumped this thing far too much. I'm not tech savvy enough for all of this. I'm gonna break this pop filter at the end of the day, I know it. Snap it. I'm going to put my finger right through it. Alas, this should be okay. She then went into the druggist's, where she provided herself with all sorts of sweet-scented waters, with cloves, nutmeg, pepper, ginger, and a large piece of ambergris, and several other Indian spices, which completely filled the porter's basket. Still, she ordered him to follow her. He did so till they arrived at a magnificent horse, the front ornamented with handsome columns, and at the entrance was a door of ivory. The door to be opened, the porter's mind... Here they stopped, and the lady gave a gentle knock. While they waited for the door to be opened, the porter's mind was filled with 1,000 different thoughts. He was surprised that a lady dressed like this one should perform the office of housekeeper, for he conceived it impossible that she should be a slave. Her air was so noble that he supposed her free, if not a person of distinction. He was wishing to ask her some questions concerning her quality and position, but just as he was preparing to speak, another female who opened the door appeared to him so beautiful that he was silent with astonishment, or rather he was so struck by the brilliancy of her charms that he very nearly let his basket and all that was in it fall. So much did this fair object engross his attention. He thought he had never seen any beauty in his whole life to equal hers who was before him. The lady who had brought the porter observed the disturbed state of his mind, and divined the cause of it. This discovery amused her, and she took so much pleasure in examining the countenance of the porter that she forgot the door was open. "Come in, sister," said the beautiful portress. "What do you wait for? Don't you see that this poor man is so heavily laden he can hardly bear his load?" I think that's an innuendo, but I'm not completely sure. As soon as the first lady and the porter had come in, the second, who opened the door, shut it. And all three, passing through a handsome vestibule, crossed a very spacious court, surrounded by an open gallery or corridor which communicated with many magnificent apartments, all on the same floor. At the end of this court there was a sort of cabinet, richly furnished, with a throne of amber in the middle, supported by 4 ebony pillars enriched with diamonds and pearls of extraordinary size, and covered with red satin, relieved by a bordering of Indian gold of admirable workmanship. In the middle of the court there was a large basin lined with white marble and full of the clearest transparent water, which rushed from the mouth of a lion of gilt bronze. Gilt spelled G-I-L-T. I believe it is another spelling for gilded. There may be an ancient form of it. Not ancient, but an archaic form of gilded. But I can't say for sure. I think that's what it is. Oh, I knocked it again, and I lost my page. And we are off topic again. I swear I want to read. I'm just really bad at it. It gets in the way of the rice cooker. Not exactly a set piece, huh? And it's about to fall off the desk. Although the porter was heavily laden, this did not prevent him from admiring the magnificence of the house and the neatness and regularity with which everything in it was arranged. But his attention was particularly attracted by a third lady, who appeared still more beautiful than the second, and who was seated on the amber throne. As soon as she perceived the other 2 females, she came down from the throne and advanced towards them. The porter conjectured, from the looks and behavior of the first 2 ladies, that this third was the principal personage, and he was not mistaken. This last lady was called Zobeide. She who opened the door was called Safiye, and the name of the one who had been out for the provisions was Amine. "You do not, my dear sisters," said Zobeide, accosting the other 2, "perceive that this man is almost fainting under his load. Why do you not discharge him?" Amine and Safiye then took the basket, one standing at each side. Zobeide also assisted, and all 3 put it on the ground. Then they began to empty it. And when they had done so, The agreeable Amine took out her purse and rewarded the porter very liberally. He was well satisfied with what he had received, and was taking up his basket to go, but could not muster sufficient resolution, so much was he delighted by the sight of three such rare beauties, all of whom appeared to him equally charming. For Amine had also taken off her veil, and he found her quite as handsome as the others. The thing that puzzled him most was that there did not seem to be any man in the house, and yet a great part of the provisions he brought, such as dried fruits, cakes, and sweetmeats, were most suitable for the persons who wished to drink much and to feast. Zobeide at the first thought the porter was waiting to get breath, but observing he remained a long time, she asked him what he waited for, and whether he was sufficiently paid. "Give him something more," added she, speaking to Amine, "and let him be satisfied." "Madam," answered the porter, "it is not that which detains me. I am already but too well paid for my trouble. I know very well that I am guilty of an incivility in staying where I ought not, but I hope you will have the goodness to pardon of it, and describe it to the astonishment I experience in seeing no man among three ladies of such uncommon beauty. A party of ladies without men is as melancholy and stupid as a party of men without ladies." To this he added some pleasantries in proof of what he advanced. He did not forget to repeat what they say at Baghdad, that there was no comfort at a table unless there were four, and he concluded by saying that as the ladies were three, they had the greatest want of a fourth. The ladies laughed heartily at the reasoning of the porter. Zobeide, however, then addressed him in a serious manner. "You carry your fooleries, my friend, a little too far, but though you do not deserve that I should enter into any explanation with you, I will at once inform you that we are three sisters who arrange all our affairs so secretly that no one knows anything of them. The great reason we have to fear a discovery forbids us to make our arrangements public, and an author of repute, whom we have read, says, 'Keep thy own secret, and tell it to no one, for he who reveals a secret is no longer master of it. If thine own breast cannot contain thy secret, how can the breast of him to whom thou entrustest it? To whom thou entrustest it.'" Elizabethan English. "Ladies," replied the porter, "from your appearance alone, I thought you possessed a singular degree of merit, and I perceive that I am not mistaken. Although fortune has not been so propitious to me as to provide me with a better profession than the one I follow, yet I have cultivated my mind as much as I was able by reading books of science and history, and permit me, I entreat, to say, that I also have read in another of Maxim, which I have always happily practiced. 'Conceal your secret,' says the writer, 'only from those as are known to be indiscreet, and who will abuse your confidence, but make no difficulty in discovering it to prudent men, because they know how to keep it.' The secret, then, with me, is as safe as if it were locked up in a cabinet, the key of which is lost and the door sealed." Zobeide saw that the porter was not deficient in cleverness, but thinking that he was desirous of being at the entertainment they were going to have, she jestingly replied, "You know that we are preparing to regale ourselves, and you must also know we cannot do this but at a considerable expense, and it would not be as just that you should partake of a feast without bearing part of the cost." The beautiful Safiye was of her sister's opinion. "My friend," she said to the porter, "have you never heard the common saying, 'If thou bringest something, thou shalt return with something. If thou bringest nothing, thou shalt carry nothing away'?" The porter would have been obliged to retire in confusion in spite of his rhetoric, had it not been for Amine, who took his part very strongly. "My dear sister," she said to Zobeide and Safiye, "I entreat you to permit him to remain with us. I need not tell you he will divert us, for you must see he is a witty man. I assure you that had it not been for his readiness, quickness, and courage in following me, I should not have executed my many commissions in so short a time. Besides, if I were to repeat to you all the amusing things he said to me on the way, you would not be much surprised that I am become his advocate." That famous line you mentioned from the Bhagavad Gita. I get the letters mixed up sometimes. The Bhagavad Gita. I am become death. The sentence, I am become. I'm not sure why it's considered grammatically correct? Because it sounds wrong, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like modern English, but I have no idea. I am become. Maybe I have become. I don't know. But it is as it's written, I am become his advocate. At this speech of Amine's, the porter, in the transport of joy, fell on his knee and kissed the ground at the feet of this charming woman. My dear lady, said he, as he rose, you have begun my happiness, and placed it almost at its summit by this generous advocacy, for which I can never sufficiently express my gratitude. In short, ladies, added he, addressing the three sisters at once, do not suppose, because you have done me so great an honor, that I will abuse it, or that I consider myself as a man who is worthy of it. On the contrary, I shall ever regard myself as the humblest of your slaves. Saying this, he wished to return the money he had received, but the grave Zobeide ordered him to keep it. What we have once given, she said, as a recompense to those who have rendered us any service, we never take back. But in agreeing that you should remain with us, we not only make the condition that you keep the secret we are going to entrust you with, but we also require that you shall strictly observe the rules and propriety and decorum. Propriety. I need to pronounce my R's better. I need to enunciate my R's better. While her sister was speaking, the beautiful Amine took off her walking dress, and fastening her robe to her girdle, to be at more liberty in preparing the table, she placed on it various kinds of meat, and put some bottles of wine and several golden cups upon a sideboard. Hereupon the ladies seated themselves round the table, and made the porter place himself by their side. He, for his part, was delighted beyond measure at seeing himself at a table with three persons of such extraordinary beauty. They had scarcely begun to eat, when Amine, who had placed herself near the sideboard, took a bottle and goblet, and poured out some wine for herself. Having drunk the first glass, according to the Arabian custom, she then poured out one for each of her sisters, who drank one after the other. Then, filling the goblet for the fourth time, she presented it to the porter, who, as he took it, kissed her hand, and before he drank it, he sung a song, the purport of which was, that as the wind carried with it the odor of any perfumed spot over which it passed, so the wine which he was about to drink, coming from her hand, acquired a more exquisite flavor than it naturally possessed. This song pleased the ladies very much, and they too sang, each in their turn. In short, the company were in most excellent spirits during the repast. A repast is a kind of a meal. I only know that because repas in French is a meal, a snack. It's like a in-between those two. Which lasted a long time and was accompanied by everything that could render it agreeable. Maybe it's not. Maybe it means conversation. I don't know. There's so many words I don't know. That's what this stream is for, to help me learn. I'm not going to say I know what repast means because I don't. I'm going to look up repast to learn what it means. Repast. I spelled it wrong with a D. A meal. Okay. My hunch was correct, but I didn't know for sure. Repast. Is it pronounced that way? I really need Merriam-Webster on tap, it seems. Repast. Yes, it's pronounced repast. Or repast. We're putting Merriam-Webster in the... what do you call it? Favorites tab, so that I can just click it, because I use it very much here. Done. I was just checking something. I hear the shaking of the table. Maybe I don't need it plugged in here anymore since I know what volume I should be speaking at now. I think I'm going to plug my headphones back in so I can actually hear what's going into the stream other than my voice. Since the microphone is on, I know what volume I need to speak at. I can hear the music that you hear and the fire crackling that you hear. I'll know if it gets too loud or if the music gets out of tune with what we're reading. I picked a pretty ambient noise, so it shouldn't feel like, well, it's not dubstep. How about that? It's something that should go okay with any story that isn't extremely. It should go okay with classic stories. I'll say it like that because there's some modern tales which are difficult to cover with music like that. I'd say Ernest Hemingway is probably very difficult to cover like that. But I don't think we're going to read any Ernest Hemingway, despite him being in the public domain, I think, partially. Actually, no, I don't think most of his work is. 70 years after the artist's death, and I think he died in the 50s. Maybe he's public domain. Let's check if he's public domain, though I doubt we're going to read him here. Not that I hate Ernest Hemingway. I haven't gone over all his work. From what I remember, it's very dry and very run-on sentence. Ernest. Why'd I look up Ernest? I should have looked up Hemingway. There's only one Hemingway. There's 100 Ernests. Ah, okay. The Sun Also Rises and In Our Time are both in the public domain, but not all of his work is. What's the big one? Call to Arms. Call to Arms is not part of the public domain. Well, that's fine. I've already read that one, and I found it somewhat dry. But it got me into stream of consciousness writings and readings, which has impacted the way I interact and show interest in many types of poems. Yeah, all in all, he's not the worst author. I've read many authors who are harder to read than Hemingway is. At the very least, Hemingway's flow continues. It doesn't halt itself. Whether that's a lack of style or a style, debatable. He certainly had an impact on literature. Oh gosh, I keep getting distracted and derailed. We haven't even made it through one story yet. And I know my face looks somewhat bored. I have a terrible resting face. I know I need to scope something more amicable, something more friendly. So I tried to look tired instead of bored, so close my eyes a little bit more. Because if not, I just look angry. Turning up the cheeks maybe a little bit. I don't know. Where were we? I don't know why I feel so tired when I start these. Maybe the setting is too calm. But I can't do excited stuff. I don't have the energy for it. to the story. It's a long time much accompanied by everything that could render it agreeable. The day began to close when Safiye, in the name of her sisters, said to the porter, "Arise and go, it is time to retire." To this, the porter, who had not the heart to quit them, answered, "Ah, ladies, where would you go command me to go in a state I am in? I am almost beside myself from gazing on you and from the good cheer you have given me, and I shall never find the way to my own house. Allow me the night to recover myself in. I will pass it wherever you please, but no shorter time will restore me to the state I was in when I came here, and even then I fear I shall leave the better part of myself behind." Amine again took the part of the porter. "He is right, my sister," she exclaimed. "I am convinced of the propriety of his demand. He has sufficiently amused us, and if you will believe me, or rather if you love me, I am sure you will suffer him to pass the evening with us." "We cannot refuse any request of yours, sister," replied Zobeide. "Porter," she addressing herself to the man, "we are willing to grant you even this favor, but we must impose a fresh condition. Whatever we may do in your presence, with respect to yourself or anything else, beware of asking us any questions, for in questioning us about things that do not all concern you, you may hear what will not please you. Take care, therefore, and be not too curious in attempting to discover the motives of our actions." "Madam," replied the porter, "I promise to observe the conditions with so much exactitude that you shall have no reason to reproach me with having infringed them, still less to punish my indiscretion. My tongue shall be motionless, and my eyes shall be like a mirror that preserves none of the objects whose image it receives." "To let you see," said Zobeide with a serious air, "that what we require of you is not newly established among us. Observe what is written over the door on the inside." The porter went to read these words, which were written in large letters of gold. "Whoever talks about what does not concern him often hears what does not please him." He came back directly and said to the three sisters, "I swear to you, ladies, that you shall not hear me speak a word concerning anything which does not regard me, and in which you have any interest. This matter being settled, Amine brought supper, and when she did lighten up the hall with numerous candles, prepared with aloes and ambergris, which scattered a very agreeable perfume, and cast a brilliant radiance around, she seated herself at the table with her sisters and the porter. They began to eat, drink, sing, and recite verses. The ladies took pleasure in making the porter intoxicated, under the pretense of calling upon him to drink to their health. Wit and repartee were not wanting. The company were at length all in the best humor when they heard a knocking at the gate. They instantly got up, and all ran to open it, but Safiye, to whom this office particularly belonged, was the most active. The other two, seeing her before them, stopped, and waited till she came back to tell them who it was, that they could have any business with them at so late an hour. Safiye soon returned and spoke thus: "Sisters, here is a charming opportunity to spend part of the night very pleasantly, and if you are of my opinion, we will not let it escape us. There are 3 calendars at the door, at least they appear by their dress to be calendars. But what will doubtless surprise you is, that they are all 3 blind of the right eye, and have their heads, beards, and eyebrows shaved. They say they have only just arrived at Baghdad, where they have never been before. And as it is dark and they know not where to lodge, they knocked at our door by chance and entreat us, for the love of God, to have charity to take them in. They care not where we put them, provided they are under cover, and will be satisfied even with a stable. They are young and comely, and seem to be men of some spirit. But I cannot, without laughing, think of their amusing and uniform appearance." Safiye could not indeed refrain from